Romayim, or Romans, chapter 4. What then shall we say Abraham our father to have found according to the flesh? For if Abraham was declared right by works, he has ground for boasting, but not before Elohim. For what does the scripture say? Abraham believed Elohim, and it was reckoned to him for righteousness. And to him who is working, the reward is not reckoned as a favor, but as a debt. And to him who is not working, but believes on him, who is declaring right the wicked, his belief is reckoned for righteousness, even as David also says of the blessedness of the man whom Elohim reckons righteousness without works. Blessed are those whose lawlessnesses are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom Yehovah shall by no means reckon sin. Is this blessing then upon the circumcised only, or also upon the uncircumcised? For we affirm, belief was reckoned unto Abraham for righteousness. How then was it reckoned? Being in circumcision or in uncircumcision? Not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision. And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the belief, while he was in uncircumcision. For him to be a father of all those believing through uncircumcision, for righteousness to be reckoned to them also, and the father of circumcision to those who not only are of the circumcision, but who also walk in the steps of the belief which our father Abraham had in uncircumcision. For the promise that he should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the Torah, but through a righteousness of belief. For if those who are of the Torah are heirs, belief has been made useless and the promise has been nullified, for the Torah works out wrath. For where there is no Torah, there's no transgression. On account of this, it is of belief that it be according to favor, for the promise to be made certain to all the seed, not only to those who are of the Torah, but also to those who are of the belief of Abraham, who is father of us all. As it has been written, I have made you a father of many nations, in the presence of him whom he believed, even Elohim, who gives life to the dead and calls that which does not exist as existing, who against all expectation did believe, in expectation, so that he should become a father of many nations, according to what was said, so your seed be. And not having grown weak in belief, he did not consider his own body already dead, being about 100 years old, and the deadness of Sarah's womb. He did not hesitate about the promise of Elohim through unbelief, but was strengthened in belief, giving esteem to Elohim and being completely persuaded that what he had promised, he was also able to do. Therefore also it was reckoned to him for righteousness. And not because of him alone was it written that it was reckoned to him, but also because of us, to whom it shall be reckoned, to us who believe in him who raised up Yeshua our Master from the dead, who was delivered up because of our trespasses, and was raised for us to be declared right. Chapter 5. Therefore, having been declared right by belief, we have peace with Elohim through our Master Yeshua Messiah, through whom we also have access by belief into this favor in which we stand, and we exult in the expectation of the esteem of Elohim. And not only this, but we also exult in pressures, knowing that pressure works endurance, and endurance, approvedness, and approvedness, expectation. And expectation does not disappoint, because the love of Elohim has been poured out in our hearts by the set-apart Spirit which was given us. For when we were still weak, Messiah in due time died for the wicked. For one shall hardly die for a righteous one, though possibly for a good one someone would even have the courage to die. But Elohim proves his own love for us, that while we were still sinners, Messiah died for us. Much more then, having now been declared right by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. For if, being enemies, we were restored to favor with Elohim through the death of his Son, much more, having been restored to favor, we shall be saved by his life. And not only this, but we also exult in Elohim through our Master Yeshua Messiah, through whom we have now received the restoration to favor. For this reason, even as though one man, through him, sin did enter into the world, and death through sin, and thus death spread to all men, because all sinned. For until the Torah, sin was in the world, but sin is not reckoned when there's no Torah. But death reigned from Adam until Moshe, even over those who had not sinned, according to the likeness of the transgression of Adam, who is a type of him who was to come. But the favorable gift is not like the trespass. For if by the one man's trespass many died, much more the favor of Elohim and the gift in favor of the one man, Yeshua Messiah, overflowed to many. And the favorable gift is not as by one having sinned, for indeed the judgment was of one to condemnation, but the favorable gift is of many trespasses unto righteousness. For if by the trespass of the one death did reign through the one, much more those who receive the overflowing favor and the gift of righteousness shall reign in life through the one, Yeshua Messiah. So then, as through one trespass there resulted condemnation to all men, so also through one righteous act there resulted righteous declaring of life to all men. For as through the disobedience of one man many were made sinners, so also through the obedience of the one many shall be made righteous. And the Torah came in beside, so that the trespass would increase. But where sin increased, favor increased still more, so that as sin did reign in death, even so favor might reign through righteousness to everlasting life, through Yeshua Messiah our Master. Chapter 6. What then shall we say? Shall we continue in sin to let favor increase? Let it not be. How shall we who died to sin still go live in it? Or do you not know that as many of us as were immersed into Messiah Yeshua were immersed into his death? We were therefore buried with him through immersion into death, that as Messiah was raised from the dead by the esteem of the Father, so also we should walk in the newness of life. For if we have come to be grown together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also of the resurrection, knowing this, that our old man was impaled with him, so that the body of sin might be rendered powerless to serve sin no longer. For he who's died has been made right from sin. And if we died with Messiah, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that Messiah, having been raised from the dead, dies no more. Death no longer rules over him. For in that he died to sin once, for all. But in that he lives to Elohim. So you also reckon yourselves to be dead indeed to sin, but alive to Elohim in Messiah Yeshua, our Master. Therefore, do not let sin reign in your mortal body to obey it in its desires. Neither present your members as instruments of unrighteousness to sin, but present yourselves to Elohim as being alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness to Elohim. For sin shall not rule over you, for you're not under the law, but under favor. What then? Shall we sin because we're not under Torah, but under favor? Let it not be. Do you not know that to whom you present yourselves servants for obedience, you're servants of the one whom you obey, whether of sin to death or of obedience to righteousness? But thanks to Elohim that you were servants of sin, yet you obeyed from the heart that form of teaching to which you were entrusted. And having been set free from sin, you became servants of righteousness. I speak as a man because of the weakness of your flesh. For even as you did present your members as servants of uncleanness and of lawlessness, resulting in lawlessness, so now present your members as servants of righteousness, resulting in set-apartness. For when you were servants of sin, you were free from righteousness. What fruit, therefore, were you having then, over which you're now ashamed? For the end result thereof is death. But now, having been set free from sin, and having become servants of Elohim, you have your fruit resulting in set-apartness and the end everlasting life. For the wages of sin is death, but the favorable gift of Elohim is everlasting life in Messiah Yeshua our Master. Chapter 7. Or do you not know, brothers, for I speak to those knowing the Torah, that the Torah rules over a man as long as he lives? For the married woman has been bound by Torah to the living husband, but if the husband dies, she is released from the Torah concerning her husband. So then, while her husband lives, she shall be called an adulteress if she becomes another man's. But if her husband dies, she's free from that part of the Torah, so that she's not an adulteress having become another man's. So, my brothers, you also were put to death to the Torah through the body of Messiah, for you to become another's, the one who is raised from the dead, that we should bear fruit to Elohim. For when we were in the flesh, the passions of sins through the Torah were working in our members to bear fruit to death. But now we've been released from the Torah, having died to what we were held by, so that we should serve in newness of spirit and not in oldness of letter. What then shall we say? Is the Torah sin? Let it not be. However, I did not know sin except through the Torah, for also the covetousness I knew not, if the Torah hadn't said, you shall not covet. But sin, having taken the occasion through the command, did work in me all sorts of covetousness. For apart from Torah, sin is dead. I was alive apart from the Torah once, but when the command came, the sin revived and I died. And the command, which was to result in life, I found to result in death. For sin, having taken the occasion through the command, deceived me, and through it killed me. So that the Torah truly is set apart, and the command set apart, and righteousness and good. Therefore, has that which is good become death to me? Let it not be. But the sin, that sin might be manifest, was working death in me through what is good, so that sin through the command might become an exceedingly great sinner. For we know that the Torah is spiritual, but I'm fleshly, sold under sin. For what I work I know not, for what I wish I don't practice, but what I hate, that I do. But if I do what I do not wish, I agree with the Torah that it's good, and now it's no longer I that work it, but the sin dwelling in me. For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwells no good. For to wish is present with me, but to work the good I don't find. For the good that I wish to do, I don't do, but the evil that I don't wish to do, this I actually practice. And if I do that which I do not wish, it's no longer I who work it, but the sin dwelling in me. I find, therefore, this law, that when I wish to do the good, that evil's present with me. For I delight in the Torah of Elohim according to the inward man, but I see another Torah in my members battling against the Torah of my mind and bringing me into captivity to the Torah of sin which is in my members. Wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from this body of death? Thanks to Elohim, through Yeshua Messiah our Master. So then, with the mind, I myself truly serve the Torah of Elohim, but with the flesh, the Torah of sin.